Now we will move on to the superstructural phase. Same activities will be carried out for the ground floor and all the floors above it. However, there will be no retaining wall, obviously. So same relationships have been utilized, and we will be completing each floor within a span of 23 days. This 23 days span will be reduced to 19 days once we move above the first floor, because after the first floor we are trying to speed up the progress of the project by increasing the manpower. So because of this, productivity will be more and less duration will be required. So 19 days time cycle will be followed for each floor then on, and then we are further reducing it to 18 days, and finally again we will start decreasing the manpower again, because we are approaching the end of the structural works. So this is how. So by 31st August 2022, we will be completing the structural works phase. Then we will move on to the architectural and the facade works phase. Now, one of the most important activities under the architecture works is the block masonry. There are three components that are being carried out by the grey works contractor, that include the block works, the plaster works, and the screed works. So basement 2 block works will be initiated once the concrete pouring of the fifth floor slab has been completed, and then there will be the basement 1 block works, and all of these activities are connected with each other. We are starting the block works on 16th May, and we are completing the block work on 6th December 2022 in a span of 175 days. Since all these activities are interconnected with each other, we can use a simple shortcut formula to connect all these activities without carrying out the assigning of predecessors separately. So what we can do is that we can select the first activity and the last activity and press shift. So we will be selecting all the activities, and then we will right click and select the option of link activities. By linking activities, all the activities will be interconnected with an FS relationship, and then we can change or modify any relationship that we want by opening that certain activity and changing that particular relation. Now the plaster works are connected with the block masonry activity once we reach the fifth floor, from basement to fifth floor. So we will be starting the plaster works once on 23rd September 2022 and completing it by 15th April 2023 in a span of 176 days. Same procedure has been followed for the plaster works, and then we will initiate the screed works. The screed works are connected once the plaster works for basement 2 has been completed, and once we have the plaster works of our mezzanine floor completed, to start with a certain lag. So we will be starting the screed works on 11th November 2022 and completed by 21st April 2023 in a span of 138 days. Once all the grey works have been completed, we will now move on to the MEP works. Now the first activity in the MEP works is the electrical works, and the electrical works consist of multiple activities, including conduiting and steel box installation, the cable tray installation, the wiring and the cabling in the conduits and cable trays, the LV panels installation, that is the low voltage panels installation, the BDD, the bus duct system, the switches and the sockets installation, and then we have the FAS system, the fire alarm system, the CCTV system, and the public address system. And finally, we will move on to the lighting fixtures and other devices installation. Now, the conduiting and steel boxes installation is directly connected with the contract award of the electrical works, as I mentioned earlier, and it is also connected with the block works and the plaster works for basement 2, because once these activities have been complete, we can carry out conduiting and steel box installation. So then we will move on to the cable tray installation. The cable tray installation activity will be carried out in parallel to the conduiting and the steel box installation, and once both these activities are completed, we can start the wiring and cabling in the conduits and cable trays. So here you can see that is connected with both the activities with an FS relationship, and once we have done the wiring and cabling, we can move on to the installation of the LV panels, the switches and sockets installation, the FAS system installation, CCTV installation, PAS system installation, and lighting fixture installation can only be initiated once the paint works have been completed, the flooring works have been completed on that particular floor. So here you can see a certain amount of lag. So these activities come under the third phase of the MEP and can be only be completed once the finishing works have been completed on that certain floor. Same phenomena has been used on all other floors. Here you can see that these three activities, that is these three activities are starting with a certain lag once the finishing works have been completed on that particular floor. That include the paint work and the floor works. There is no ceiling in basement 2 and basement 1, since I mentioned earlier that both of these floors have been designated solely for the parking. And when we move on to the lower ground works, here you can see that these three activities, there is obviously no ceiling here as well. And once we move on to the switches and sockets installation on the ground floor and all the floors above it, you can see that we have paintworks for both the ceiling and the walls as well as the floor tiling. And all of these activities are starting with a certain amount of lag. So same phenomena has been used here as well. Here you can see all the activities that come under the electrical works, and once we have completed all the activities in the electrical works, we will move on to the HVAC works, that is the heating ventilation system. On this particular project, we are following the chiller system with chilled water piping that will be utilized to carry out the cooling of the said building. So the first activity in the HVAC works is the duct fabrication. Since you can see here that the duct fabrication activity is connected with the contract award of the HVAC works, the completion of the block work of the basement 2, the conduiting and the steel box installation, the plaster works of basement 2, and the tender package for the HVAC works. So after the completion of all these activities, we can move on to the HVAC activities that starts with the duct fabrication. The duct installation will obviously start once the duct fabrication has been completed. There will be three types of ducts, that is the supply duct, the return duct, and the exhaust duct. Then we will move on to the duct installation and duct testing. The chilled pipe installation will start in parallel to the duct installation phase, and once we have completed the chilled pipe welding, we will move on to the chilled pipe installation, and finally insulation and cladding. And then these two activities, that is the CDR, that is the condenser drain pipe installation, and the connection to the fan coil unit, as well as the connection to the or the air handling unit, these activities will be carried out once the finishing works have been completed on the set floor and come under the third phase. So here you can see that the condenser drain pipe installation is connected with the paint works on that particular floor, the flooring works on that particular floor, and the chilled pipe insulation and cladding, and will be started after a certain amount of lag. Here you can see that these two activities that come under the third phase will be completed at a certain date after the completion of the first fix and the second fix, once the finished works have been completed on the set floor. So same phenomena is followed on all the rest of the floors as elaborated here. Then we will have the plumbing and the firefighting works. Within the plumbing and the firefighting works, the first activity is the laying of drainage pipes and sewerage pipes. And here you can see it is connected with the contract award of the plumbing and the firefighting works, the completion of the block work, the completion of the plaster works, and the tender package completion of the plumbing works. So this is connected with an FS relationship. Then we will move on to the installation of the water supply pipes, that is connected with an FS relationship once the drainage pipes and the sewerage pipes have been installed. Then we have the firefighting pipes installation, that is above the ceiling. Then we have the valves and accessories installation, and then we have the sprinkler installation. Now these two activities, that is the installation of the plumbing fixtures and faucets and the fire hose reel cabinet, can only be installed once the finishing works have been completed on the set floor. So these are starting with a certain lag. The plumbing and fixtures can only be installed once the paint works and the flooring works have been completed on the set floor, and obviously the fire hose reel cabinet installation can also only be completed once the finishing works have been completed. So the same pattern has been followed on all the floors, with these two activities starting at a later date. So here you can see that we complete the HVAC works by 7th May 2024. So